Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. My name's Andrew Marsh and I have Asperger's syndrome. I was diagnosed 7 years ago at the age of 51 and everything fell into place. I'd been a geologist in the construction industry for 23 years prior to that and didn't really fit in with people, whether that was at home with friends and family, at college and at work, because I was different. And that diagnosis set out my understanding of who I am and what I am. What I now do is I work with employers to help them better manage people like me, skilled, available, keen, hardworking people who want to work, but because of their label, Asperger's syndrome or autistic or some other label, ADHD, OCD, whatever that is, they're finding it difficult to get good, viable employment, and some employers don't know what to do about it. And they don't know what to do about it from several fronts. One is they're just, what do? We don't want to do something wrong, so they don't do anything. And I can understand from a certain point of view that they don't want to get something wrong and get sued and have a bad relationship with an employee. But we've got to get beyond that. We've got to think, okay, let's look at this more realistically. Let's look at this and think, what skills does this person bring to our business, and do we want those skills? And if the answer is yes, and it should be, then what do we need to put in place to support that person so that they can be at their best in our business, so that they can thrive and our business can flourish? Because that's ultimately what you want. Businesses have to make money. They have to pay shareholders. They have to pay employees. They have to pay their premises and all sorts of other factors in the establishment of a profit-making business that is viable. So we understand that. So what I want to talk to you today is about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the broader sense. What is DEI? What does it mean? What does it mean to society? What does it mean to employers? What does it mean to the individual? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? And how can you as an employer employ people who have great skills that just aren't getting recognized for those skills and they're not being supported in the right way? Or I'm talking to you as an individual who has got great skills. They know they have skills. They can do things. They know they have skills. They could be creative in some way. They could be fantastic at spreadsheets. They could be fantastic at coding, at computing. They could be great at planning and organizing and logistics. A whole range of things that people who are autistic or have Asperger's are brilliant at. They're just not given the opportunity. So if that's you and you want to think, how can I make myself attractive to an employer? Well, maybe there's some things in here today that will help you with that. So we're looking at DEI in the broader sense. And what does, let's start off. And I don't have a formal definition. I'm just talking off the cuff. What does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean? Because that's what DEI is. Diversity, equity, not equality, equity and inclusion. Well, to me, it's about having as many people from as different backgrounds, different abilities as possible in our society, all fully contributing to the betterment of that society for their own personal benefit and feeling of worth, and the employer producing great products that people buy. They make profit, they share those profits with their employees and with society as a whole, so that we as a society, we advance, we're inclusive, we include everyone in the decision making process. So it's not just bringing someone along and saying, we'd like you to come along with this, and that's great, but giving them decision making authority. So if everyone has the opportunity to contribute, just think how much better it would be as a society, as us, as as a group of people, as a culture. If everyone who had the ability was given the opportunity to make decision making progress and be involved in that decision making process, how good would it be if someone with Asperger's syndrome, someone like me, I'll talk about from my perspective because that's where I have the greatest knowledge base because I've lived it for 58 years, nearly 59 years now. What can I bring? Well, I'm quite an organized person. I like my ducks in a row. I like to know what's happening. I like to know why I'm involved in something, what the expectation is of the person or the employer or the group of people that I'm working with or I'm with. What do they want from me? Have we had a discussion about what that is and what I can bring and maybe what I could do, what I can add? Maybe use some of my creative flair because I think I am creative. I write novels, I write books, I create stories. So maybe there's something in my creative spark that might help solve the problem that you have with your business. It might just be that someone with Asperger's or autism is the key person to say, oh, yeah, I know about that problem. Sorted it out with the last company I worked for 3 years ago. We did this. Boom, boom, boom. Problem solved. Let's look at it from a slightly different point of view. Let's suppose you had someone who was of a different race, different culture, different nationality to you. I'm just going to take the example of someone from Eastern Europe. Okay, because we have a lot of people from Eastern Europe in our country and we're integrating them into society. What if you're sitting in a meeting with your colleagues and your boss, and the boss is going, we've got this problem. We've tried everything we can think of to solve it. We don't know how to fix it. Person from Eastern Europe chipes up, says, hey, we fixed that last year over in Eastern Europe where I work, where I come from. We had this problem. We sorted it. Three or four of us, we sat around together, and this is what we came up with. This was the problem, and that was our solution. Let's talk about it. Let's see if this solution that we came up with fits the problem that you have, or whether we need to adapt it in some way. And let's have a discussion. Let's have the key people around the room, around a table, and say, "This is how we can fix this." And go ahead, have the discussion. Have the discussion. What can someone bring to your business that you don't have? Let's take a slightly different tack on that. This has just occurred to me. When companies want to expand and grow, they tend to do it in one of several ways. One is by acquisition. They acquire another company, and if they're acquiring a company, they want it for two or three reasons. One, they have a great customer base. Let's have those customers. Great. Number two, they have a skill that we don't have, or that well, we're not as good at as they are. Let's do that. Let's have them on. Or three, they have a geographical location, which we are trying to get into. And if we try to grow organically, it might take us 10 years. There's a company over there that has that geographical location in their pocket. And they've got a skill set that we don't have. So that's a business perspective of growing your business by acquiring someone who an entity, another business that has the skills you want. Instead of that being a company, say that was a person. You put an advert in the trade press, on the online, on goodness knows what internet sites that you put these things on these days. You're looking for this type of person to do this, 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 and this. Must have these skills, this qualifications, this experience. And someone pops up and they present a CV that you think, yeah, this is great. Let's have this person in. And you're talking to that person. They say, oh, yeah, I was interested in your advert because I do this. This is what I do for a living. These are the skill sets that I bring. But I want to make you aware that I have Asperger's syndrome. Okay. What does that mean? Well, for me, it means I can do this, this, and this. These are the skills that I have that I bring to your business. But there are challenges I have. As a person, as an individual, I have some challenges. So I would be looking to you to have a conversation with me about what reasonable adjustments we could make in the workplace under the Equality Act of 2010, if you're in the UK, that can support me best so that I can be at my best and I can be on my A game and give you quality work. There are things that we need to talk about how I work, where I work, what the environment is in where I work, and we can do that. Not difficult. I'm not asking for the moon, but there are things that we can do together as a team to place me in the right place so that I can be my authentic self, and I can be creative, and I can do the work that you want to do. Because that work, I can do that. That is right up my street. It fits my skill set perfectly. And you've said that you're looking for people who are looking to progress. I want to progress. I want to use my skill set, and I want to develop, go up the ladder. But I have Asperger's syndrome. And they'll say, well, what kind of adjustments you call them? What kind of adjustments are you looking at? Well, I'm quite sensitive to noise and light. So if I could be placed in somewhere that is quiet, not sitting next to the printer or the telephone exchange, or not next to someone who types loudly on their keyboard, because that kind of clicky 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 repetitive noise can be quite difficult for me. Is there a squeaky door next to where I work? Either take the squeak away, fix the squeak, or have me somewhere where the squeaky door doesn't become a problem. Or is the floor covering quite a hard floor covering, like a wooden floor covering, parquet flooring, or linoleum, where people go clunk, 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 clunk? That kind of noise can be off-putting for me. It can be distracting. So if we can find a quiet place where I can work, that would be great. Yes, we can do that. Also a bit sensitive to bright lights. So if you've got a place for me by a window, can it have blinds that I can take control of so that I can reduce the amount of light that comes in? Yeah, we can do that. Or have you got overhead strip lighting? That can be really, particularly with the flicker that happens with them, that can be a problem for me. I'm much better off with an angle poised light over my desk that I can control, and I can adjust to keep the light how I would work. Is that possible that we could do that? If you've got noise and light nailed, I'm okay. I would like to have um, a structure where on how we communicate with each other, how I receive instructions from you, and have that nice and formal so that we get the opportunity to discuss what you're asking. But that's just the relationship and the rapport that we build up with each other. That's how I like to work. I like to know and understand what is going on. And they'll say, yeah, we can do that. We can accommodate that. Excellent. That's what it's about. It's about having the discussion with whomever it is. It might be we're talking about our friend from Eastern Europe. They might still be struggling with certain aspects of the English language. Well, help them with that. If there's a course that you could send them on to help them with their English language and their comprehension that is specific to your business, so your buzzwords, your industry words are explained, and the context of those are explained to them. If there's a course that you could put them on for 12 weeks, 6 months, do that. It's not a great cost. Honestly, it is not a great cost to have the right person being able to contribute well, putting them on a course that supports them in the way that they can work best and understand the instructions and how they work with each other. It's just the same as someone who's up and coming, and you think, wow, this person's got good management potential. You put them on a management training course or a project management course, or if they're really shining and it's right for you and it's right for your business, see if they'd be interested in doing a sponsored MBA. That's the company investing in the people. You're going to get the response from the person. Oh, do you know what? I was just thinking about that, and I think that would help me in my career advancement and help me with my work for your company. DEI doesn't need to be complicated. It really doesn't need to be complicated. At the practical, simple human level and business level, it's about supporting the person in the right way so that they can be their authentic self in your business, so that they can feel valued, they can flourish, and your business is successful. That's what you want. So that's what DEI is. It's about finding the right tools to support the person. And they will be different for different people. Someone who has OCD might need different kind of support from someone who is dyslexic or dyscalculate, or has numeracy issues like that. Doesn't mean to say they're a bad employee. It just means to say that you need to find the right way to support them in work so that they can be excellent in what they do for your business. There are people who have dyslexia, for example. I know someone, as a friend of mine who's dyslexic, and he really struggled until he got an assessment. I won't go through the whole thing, but the gist of it is with people with dyslexia, as I understand it, they find it hard to read the words. It's as though the letters are moving around the page and they can't pinpoint them down. But if you put a colored sheet over the top of the work, and it might be a different color for each different person, it stabilizes what they're looking at. So my friend had, his color was purple. So they had a clear plastic perspex sheet of an A4 size that he could put over the work and he could then read it perfectly, just as anyone who didn't have dyslexia. Now, the cost to the employer of providing that sheet of plastic or colored perspex or whatever it was is buttons. It's £1. It's £2 or £3. Would you rather have the right person in your business doing excellent work for the cost of £2 or £3? Of course you would. You wouldn't think twice about, well, we can't afford that cost. That's unreasonable. You just wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't. You would think, I should put this person, and all they need is a colored sheet of plastic, and they can be brilliant at what they work. Well, let's see. Are there any other people we have in our business who also could benefit from having a colored sheet of card? It might be something that HR would want to look into. Do we have people who are dyslexic who might benefit from this colored card, this colored plastic? And you might find that there are some people who struggle. But if they get the right color card, it might be yellow, it might be orange, it might be green, it might be blue. Doesn't matter what color it is. You can support them so that they can do great work. That's what you want. Not everyone who comes to your business is going to be A1 perfect without any support. Those sorts of people don't exist. It it might be that someone that you have has chronic fatigue syndrome, for example, and they get really tired. So they might want to be able to have rest periods of half an hour or an hour where they can, if it's allowed and if you can accommodate it, where they can go and have a nap, come back. That's great. I've topped up. I can carry on with my work. You can do that. Why wouldn't you support someone who's one of your best employees with really good work, but they might need to have a nap every now and then? Or they might to go home and take their work home, finish it off at home, where they can go home, have their nap, have a rest, and then get back onto their work and finish it. We have just come through nearly 3 years of COVID, where people have been working from home. Many instances, they have been more efficient. Yes, they have. They have been more efficient in what they do because they don't have the distractions of someone walking up to their desk and saying, "Can you do this? Can you do that? I want this. I want that," or the work phone going off. I need this for a meeting. Blah blah blah. They don't have that when they're sitting at home. Yes, their mobile phone might go off. Might be someone from work talking to them about something, but you schedule that. You say, "We'll have a we'll have a discussion at 10 o'clock on Monday morning about your workload for the week, and we'll have a checkup Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, just to see how you're getting on, see whether there's anything that we need to help you with, to support you with, or there's other information that you need that we've got at work." People have worked from home for nearly 3 years, and in many instances, they have been more efficient. Why do you want them back in the office again? Some businesses will want them back in the office so that they can see that they're doing work, that they can control them, keep them under the hammer. Please don't do that. If you have just found out from COVID that 85% of your employees work better at home. Let them stay working from home. Have a once a week, once a fortnight, come to the office for a briefing as and when is necessary. But if they can work from home, let them do it. And they're more efficient working from home. Just think how much money that's saving you from that big office where where you had 300 people. You don't need it. You might only need an office for 30 people. And providing you've got meeting room space where meetings as necessary are required for your clients, where your clients can come in and your teams can come in and brief the clients and do those interactions, you could save a fortune on your business administrative costs, your building costs, your desk costs, your heating costs, your rates, your rent, all of those things. And your employees are going to benefit from that because they don't have to sit on the motorway for an hour and then try and find somewhere to park, or they've got a bus to get, or they've got the train to get. The trains are unreliable, particularly in the winter when it's frosty and it's cold and it's snowy. If you can accommodate your staff working from home, do that. They will appreciate it and they will still put in the work. Yes, there will be the odd person whom it doesn't work for. Yes, there will be the odd person who takes advantage of it and doesn't do the work. But you will find that out. And there are ways to manage those people. You give them shorter targets. You give them shorter uh, episodes to complete work. Instead of giving them a week's worth of work, give them a day's worth of work. And check with them at the end of each day. How are you getting on with that? Have you finished that? Have you finished that? Yes, I have. Okay, send it to me. I'll look at it and I'll get back to you tonight. And I'll send you my comments and you can look at those in the morning. It's easy to manage people when you think they're taking the mickey because they've got a week's worth of work and they haven't done it. To give them shorter periods of work to do. Easy to manage that. Good management, good leadership can deal with that. So DEI is about, and I keep saying it, but it's about supporting everyone in your business in the right way for them. And it will be different necessarily, it won't necessarily be the same for the person sitting next to them or the person in the other office down the corridor. So your leadership teams, your management teams need to understand that, hey, we've got Andrew over there. He has Asperger's. We need to manage Andrew and interact with Andrew, have communications with Andrew in a different way so that we can get the best from him. Well, the way we need to do it with Susan is different. Susan sitting over there has to be done differently. Then do it differently. If two different people in your business need managing in different ways to get the best from them, why wouldn't you support them each in the way that works best for them? Rather than carte blanche, one size fits all, well, it doesn't. It doesn't. The what's the word I'm looking for? The litigation world is full of instances where people have been constructively dismissed or they've had to leave because they haven't been supported in the right way. I'm going to tell you an example. This happened in America recently. I think it was November, December of 2022. There was a person who suffered from social anxiety, and it was his birthday coming up. He said to his bosses, I know you normally do a birthday thing and a present for people. Please don't do it for me. I don't want a birthday party. I don't want an office gathering and a presentation of a present. Please just ignore the day and pretend it's not my birthday and let's have a normal day without any fuss. He went to his managers and said that because he has social anxiety and cannot cope with the attention on him, with all these people around him. Please don't do it. I'm asking you, please don't do it. Guess what happened? Their bosses did it. And he had a panic attack. And he had to go and sit in his car to try and calm down. The next day, it doesn't end there. The next day, they had him into a meeting and they disciplined him. And he had another panic attack and they sacked him. He took that company to court in America and had won $450,000 for unfair dismissal. Quite rightly so. Unbelievable. that he asks, don't have the party. I don't want it. I can't cope with it. It's too much for me. And they had the party. And then they disciplined him for his reaction to the party by sacking him. What on earth was going on? Just think about that for a moment. You have someone who has social anxiety and says, please don't have a party or a presentation for me. I don't want it. And they go and do it. And they then discipline him and sack him. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. You have to take your hat off to the person for having the wherewithal to say to their manager, look, please don't do this. I don't want to have a party for my birthday. Just pretend I don't have a birthday. Let's not do this. He actually went to his employer and said, don't do it. And they did it. And he had a panic attack. What did they expect him to do? Ah, crazy. That sort of thing gets me really annoyed when the solution was presented to them by the employee there and then. Excuse me just a moment. The employee gave them the solution. Don't have the birthday party. Don't have the birthday presentation. That's the solution. Don't want it. Okay, thanks for letting us know. We really appreciate that. There will be nothing. If that's what you want, we'll comply. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. End of that's the end of the topic. But they didn't. They went the other way, and it blew up in their face. And fair play to that employee for having the strength to go to a lawyer and having to go through all the stress of the situation, to present it to a lawyer, to go to court because it went to court, and all of that situation. Fair play to them for having the balls to stand up for themselves when they were clearly wronged by their employer. And the judge went, yeah, unfair dismissal, boom, $450,000. I hope that the message from that has got around the world, because it was found, you know, the internet world is an amazing thing these days. These things don't stay hidden in the world. People will be posting on social media. It should be posted in HR forums, and the court records are there. People need to learn from what has happened before, but unfortunately, some businesses don't, or some people in businesses don't realize and understand that you need to support all of your people in your teams in a different way to get the best from them. There's a company who are a global company called Auticon, and they are an IT service provider. They provide computer specialists to their clients, and they to do the computer software and IT within the company's business. And every single one of their computing consultants has autism or Asperger's. They seek them out because they are so good at what they do. It's not for me. I'm not IT savvy. My skills, my Asperger's skills lie in a different area. But there are people that have incredible IT skills who have autism, have Asperger's syndrome, and Auticon look them out. They positively advertise for them, and they look them out. They screen them. They give them uh, um, testing within the interview process to see how good they are and what they're good at, and they support them. And they support those people to provide IT services for their clients. That is what 21st century businesses should be doing. That is what they should be doing. They should be finding the right person for the job. They should be supporting that person in the right way so that they can be the best that they can be. That is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right there. Right there. That's what we should be doing as a society. I'm going to give you two pieces of information. And you'll know this because it's obvious when I tell you, but I want you to think about them just for a moment. We are in the third decade of the 21st century. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that because we are not in the 1960s, 70s, or 80s anymore. The 1980s started 43 years ago. Think about that. Think about the business practices that you have. Are they still stuck in the 1980s or 1990s? Do you have a DEI policy? Do you have someone on your board with direct responsibility for diversity, equity, and inclusion? Just as in business, because of health and safety legislation that came in the 1990s and beyond, you should have a director in your business at board level responsible for health, safety, and welfare in your business. You should have someone at directorial level responsible for diversity, equity, and inclusion in your business. If you don't have one, please get in touch, because you should have one. In my view, you should have one. If there's law, which there is, which is the Equality Act of 2010 in the UK, that sets out what an employer should do very clearly, just like health and safety legislation and codes of practice that go with the various legislations that have developed since 1974, when the Health and Safety at Work Act came out. There are things that an employer should do with regard to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Here's something for you. Let's just suppose that you have someone who has, so let's go for that social anxiety situation where they need support in the right way to help them work better. They need help with how they communicate with people, and the rapport and the way that you've set up dealing with that person needs to be sympathetic, so that the person understands what you're asking of them, but they do it in the right way so that they don't feel threatened and don't feel pressured into doing things in the wrong way. So you have to have a rapport and a way to manage that person with social anxiety. That is one of the things that you would need to do under DEI in the UK and elsewhere. It applies throughout the world. Whether you have laws about it or not, you should be doing DEI. It's just as important as supporting that person with social anxiety or Asperger's, or someone who comes from Eastern Europe, or someone who comes from Asia and their language skills aren't as good. You have to support them so that they can work well and efficiently and at their best in your business. It's as important to support them and find out what the support you need to give them as it is for providing a ramp to your front door for a wheelchair user. It's as obvious as that. If you have steps leading up to your business and there's not a ramp for a wheelchair user, be careful, because someone in your business, a supplier, a customer, a client, says, well, I can't get into your building because I can't get up these stairs. They're either going to have words with their lawyers about whether they can get into the building, or they're just going to say, I'll find some other business to work with, take my business elsewhere. I'm a client. I've got a project that might be worth £5 million to this business. I'm going to take it elsewhere because they haven't got a ramp, because I've broken my leg and I can't get into the building because I've got a wheelchair, or that person may be permanently wheelchair bound. Can you afford to turn down £5 million worth of business just because you haven't got a ramp outside your front door and you haven't got accessible lifts? Think about it. It's not rocket science. Nothing in DEI is difficult. Is rocket science. It's complicated. It requires thought. It requires precision. It requires understanding. It requires rapport from your teams and the people that you work with. But it is not difficult. A lot of these reasonable adjustments, and that's the legal term that came out of the Equality Act 2010, a lot of these reasonable adjustments are as simple as, in my circumstances, if you're going to put me next to the window, can I have a blind so that I can control the light that comes in? Or preferably, is there somewhere darker without a strip light that I can work in without noise, that I can be comfortable, and that's the environment that works for me? That's it. You can accommodate that. Please tell me you can accommodate that. Or alternatively, please turn around and tell me that you can't. Because what? Why? Yes, small businesses have different issues. I understand that. I understand that. You can still manage these things. But if you're a business who employs hundreds of people, you can deal with that. If you can't, then someone on your board needs to start rattling cages and get the consultants in to say, this is what DEI is. This is what you are exposed to if you don't do this. These are the lawsuits that could be waiting for you just around the corner if you don't support your staff who require support in certain ways. Do you want that? Do you want to be the next £450,000 court case because you've sacked or constructively dismissed someone who has an issue that can be managed within your business? There is a photograph, and there's a photograph that went around the internet a while ago, and I think it's one of the greatest photographs that there is for what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. It's a concert, and there's a man in a wheelchair being held above the heads of the other people at the concert so that he can see what's going on the main stage. That is DEI in a in a in a nutshell. Are you supporting that person so that they can see and they can understand and they can be included in what's happening? I'm asking you the question. As an employer, are you someone that would be supportive, would be holding up that person in the wheelchair so that they can see what's going on the main stage? Please tell me yes. If the answer is no, please get in touch. Drop me an email, andrew@aspergersmatters.com. Because in my view, if you're not one of the people that would hold that person in the wheelchair up so that they can see what's going on the main stage, and your business wouldn't do that, you're exposed. You're exposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion laws under the Equality Act of 2010 in the UK. Think about it. DEI is not difficult and complicated. It requires people to understand the needs and the requirements of all of their employees, and that they may be different for a certain section of those employees. And when you look back at it, if you're an employee that has 500 people or 1,000 people or 2,000 people, you've probably got a large number of those people that you have no interaction with from a HR point of view, other than there's the offer of employment, please sign here and confirm. I need your national insurance number, your social security details, name, address, and all the usual things that you would do when you join a new company. Other than that, there's probably 85% of the people that work for you in your company that HR don't know anything about, other than that first interaction of here's the HR manual, read this, sign this, give us the pertinent information so that we can pay you and next of kin and all of the usual things that you do. But I bet you that of those 85%, some of them will have anxiety, some of them will have depression, some of them may have other mental health issues that you don't know about, that they're struggling with, or that they are masking. That's one of the things that we're very good at. People with Asperger's and autism, we're very good at masking. And you might find that if you knew about all of those little idiosyncrasies of all of your staff, you've got a bigger number of people that you're making reasonable adjustments for, or people who are managing and coping with their uh, illnesses and conditions in ways that you don't know. And they could be the ticking time bomb, because it's more likely that if you do have someone come to you in a wheelchair, that you can accommodate that because you've got a ramp, you've got accessible lifts, and you can deal with that. Because it's an obvious thing. Someone's in a wheelchair. Can they get to the 5th floor where the boardroom is or where the meeting room is? Is it accessible? Do they need someone to help them? If so, who is that person? Have they been trained? in how to communicate with someone in a wheelchair. That doesn't need to be extensive, but do they treat them with respect? Your answer should be yes. So DEI, big topic, huge topic. It's here to stay. So if you're an employer watching this on replay and you've been sitting there listening to me get quite excited, quite animated about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you're thinking, do we have someone on the board who's got responsibility for this? Don't know. Maybe need to look into that. Do we have someone in HR who's got responsibility for this? Not sure. I'll speak to the HR manager or HR director. Do we accommodate people who have different needs within our business? Not sure. Do we have procedures in place? Not sure. Or, yes, we do. We had someone in last year and we've been through it and we've put in place a series of measures to discuss with potential employees and employees that we have and what reasonable adjustments we can make. And we monitor that on a regular basis and we try as best as we can to accommodate people who are visitors to our business, because your visitor could be your supplier. You might have that £5 million contract and your supplier provides £1 million worth of business, but £1 million of that 4 million, of that 5 million. Can your supplier get into the building? Because if he doesn't, or she doesn't, or she can't, or he's unable because there's no wheelchair ramp, what are you going to do? That key supplier for your £5 million project is not going to be available to you because the person, your contact from your key contact from that supplier can't get in your building. Think about it. If I've only ever done one thing in all of my 60 episodes of Talking Asperger with Andrew, if I've only ever done one thing, it's made you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how you manage people who are different, who have different skill sets to you, who are different ethnicities, different culture, different backgrounds, different languages. Are we accommodating them, and are we looking after them, and are we understanding them? If I've made you think, if the only thing I've done in 60 episodes of this is to make you think, oh, maybe I'm not sure that we have, and I'm not sure that we are, then reach out because I can help you. If I can't help you personally, I will know some people that I can put you in touch with to help you if I am not the right person for you. Fully understand that I might not be that person. That's fine. But don't ignore it just because you're not sure, or or we'll be all right. If your answer to anything that I've said about DEI over the last 60 episodes is, nah, we're okay, we'll be all right, please stop. Please stop. You are not going to be all right. You could be you could be the next person in line who, like that person who had social anxiety, who sued them for wrongful dismissal for 400, and he got $450,000 from a judge in America. That could be you next time. There was an instance last year of a major British retailer. You think of big names in retail, and this company is one of the ones is, if it's not in your top three, you need to think again about your list, because this company is one of the top three. They had someone who'd worked for them for 10 years. They dismissed them because they were making too many mistakes in emails because they had dyslexia. They've been working there for 10 years. I don't know whether someone changed, whether there was a new manager or something happened, and that person who had worked there successfully for 10 years and had a system in place with the people that they worked around to check their emails before they were sent, they got sacked for making too many mistakes in emails when there was a solution already in place. That big retailer got sued, and rightfully so, because the reasonable accommodation was that person drafts the emails, get someone else to check it. That's all it needs to do. Send it as a Word document. Say, here's the draft of what I want to send as an email, as a Word document. Can you please have a look this through, check it through, make sure it's okay, send it back to me with corrections. I'll deal with the corrections, cut and paste it into an email, buff. That's it. That's the solution. Not a difficult solution. That is not insurmountable. It can be fixed, easily fixed. Major retailer sacked the long-standing employee. It's not even excusable if it was a new employee, because you would have done the reasonable adjustments. But this was a long-standing employee. Over 10 years this person worked for them. So don't be sitting there thinking, we'll be all right. It's not going to happen to us, because it could. Absolutely could happen to you. So that is me, Andrew Marsh, talking about DEI, and I could talk for a very long time because I get very passionate about it, but it is here to stay. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is here to stay. Those that adapt, those that thrive with it, people like Auticon, who go out their way to find people who have Asperger's and autism and then support them in the right way, are going to thrive. People who think, we'll be all right, we'll get away with it, they're not. They're not. As I said earlier, we're in the third decade of the 21st century. Let's pretend that we know what that means, and let's step up and be innovative, be creative, employ people who are going to be great for us, who might be a bit different from the norm, and then support them in the right way. Final thought. A recent study showed that people with Asperger's syndrome are up to 140% more efficient than their neurotypical colleagues if supported in the right way and in the right environment. And why wouldn't you do that? That's all for today. If you have any questions, then please feel free to get in touch with me at andrew@aspergersmatters.com, or look me up on my website at aspergersmatters.com. And keep a lookout on Friday for next week's topic, which we posted on Friday afternoon in LinkedIn. But until then, thank you for your time. And I've gone on a little bit longer than normal today, but it's a big topic. I want to make sure I covered all the bases and given you information about what you should be doing as an employer. Equality Act 2010. If you're an employer in the UK and you don't know about the Equality Act of 2010, I suggest you go look it up. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.